Hey everyone, Mary here. There is no shortage of career advice that's out there. But have you noticed what happens the moment any of that career advice is pointed towards a person over the age of 50? It gets reductive, and it gets reductive very fast. Underneath almost all of it is the same quiet message. It's to make yourself smaller. Today, in this video, I want to talk about that because I want to flip that idea completely. I'll be honest, it used to annoy me when someone whose whole experience was holding up a job and they would set themselves up as the expert on how to build a career. But, honestly, I've softened my stance on this over the years. There are a lot of ways to find success in the job search and in a career, and that path was never really meant to come from a single point of view. So let me say this up front. Some of the standard advice that's out there for experienced professionals is genuinely useful. Things like cut the resume down to the last 10 or 15 years instead of listing out every job you've ever held, or update the format so it looks like it was written this year and not a decade ago. Also, run it through the newer tools, including AI, to tighten up the language and to quantify your results. And keep your wording and your tech stack current on your resume so that you read as someone who's still actively involved in the game. None of this advice is wrong. It's actually all worth doing. If you look closely, almost all of the advice comes down to subtraction. Take something off, place something down. Hide whatever might date you so that you come across more current than what your years suggest. And even the most well-intentioned version of that advice can sting a little bit. So it got me thinking, I refuse to believe capable people have an expiration date set by anything other than their own capability, motivation, and drive. I've done enough hiring to watch how quietly older professionals get written off, nudged towards the idea that they're better suited for retirement than being taken seriously. That much narrowness passing for wisdom really bothers me. So let's go the other way. Instead of the running list of things of what to hide, here are the parts of a long career that actually work in your favor. So first, you have judgment. The kind you have only comes from using it over the years. Now, this isn't your first rodeo. You've seen enough situations through to the end to tell what a real problem is rather than one that's just noise. So when a project starts slipping, you've probably seen that exact pattern before, and you know which warning sign matters, which one's going to sort itself out by Friday. So when a room gets tense, you might be the person who can slow it down instead of adding to it. And that read doesn't come from a course, nor does it come from a certification. It's part of why a team settles a little when you walk in the room. And a lot of people who have it have stopped noticing that they do. So second is your network. It's worth far more than a contact list. And it's one advantage that less experienced people simply can't claim yet. You've spent years in rooms most people wouldn't even think of as networking. Somewhere in that web is the parent you stood next to at school pickup and who now runs that department that's hiring. Even that coworker from 3 jobs ago whose warm introduction opens a door that mass applying never will. Now, these are real relationships, and they respond to genuine tending, a coffee, an honest check-in, far more than being pried open only when you're desperate. Now, you have the perspective to curate, not just report. Most people hand over their entire history and leave the hiring team to figure out what matters. After a long career, you can flip that. You can look back across the whole arc, see which chapters actually built towards something, and lead with 3 or 4 that matter most, instead of giving every job equal weight. That isn't hiding your experience, that's directing it. And last, your confidence doesn't have to come from only a job title. Your career is a real and meaningful part of who you are, for sure. Those accomplishments have earned their place in your life. But honestly, it's one part of everything that you've lived, and your confidence gets to draw on all of it. So, some of your steadiest, most capable moments may have come in the middle of a personal crisis. It could be that year where you held your family together through an illness or the loss of a parent, or even that stretch where you rebuilt your footing after a divorce or a sudden layoff. Coming through that took judgment and a kind of resolve that says as much about how you lead as anything on a resume. Much of the advice out there is about shrinking yourself to slip past the age filter. I'd go the other way. The experience, the relationships, and the judgment that you've built are a big part of why someone should want you in the room. Now, if this resonates with you, tell me in the comments which of these four you tend to undersell. And if you know someone who needs to hear the message in this video, send it their way. I'll see you guys in the next one.